What is up, Square Nation? Welcome back to No Counters, No Combos, and today we're back in the battle chamber with a little bit of untap here for you guys today. We're testing a little bit of set 12 again. I'm on the top playing Whis, and we have Tristan at the bottom experimenting with the new Shadow Dragon, Syn Shenron, whatever you want to call it. This game is sped up to 4x. Obviously, it was a longer game. It was about 40 minutes, and I kind of like where Syn Shenron is going into set 12. Obviously, right now, it's probably the best control deck that we have in the game. It's the truest control variant that we can have playable right now. And in going into set 12, I think it's making an interesting transition into a more, I want to say like aggressive, but like potent aggression, if that makes any sense. Like, you can be aggressive with Syn Shenron going into set 12, but you can still fall back on what makes Syn Shenron so good. You know, the ability to have big, beefy blockers on board, interact with your opponent's plays, you know, stop their effects. So you still have that caveat of having a pretty potent, aggressive strategy while being able to lean back, take a step back, and put your opponent on the clock. Because essentially, if you get to 6 energy in a Syn Shenron, with its activate main ability of tapping 6 yellow energy and playing a whole bunch of Shadow Dragons, you kind of win. So it's a really interesting deck, being able to kind of choose what tempo it wants to take, in that you can play early aggression, get big bodies out on board. And the 8-drop Syn Shenrons that comes out for 1, the 30k that we're getting in set 12, that guy's a problem. Like, he copies another Shadow Dragon in the drop area, and when you're copying Oceanus, being a barrier blocker 30k is kind of sick. Nova Shenron, which you'll see Tristan play throughout the game here, is also really interesting. By resting him, you get to burst 2, and you just fill your drop area with more Shadow Dragon targets for your Syn Shenron to use. Then you have the tried and true, you know, regular 1 to 4 to 9 drop chain. You know, going into your 9 drop Syn Shenron Revenge blocker is just really good also. You can play Mecha Kabura as your Unison. You can play just good yellow stuff. So there's a lot of different ways to kind of mold your strategy moving into set 12. I still think Syn Shenron is going to be in the upper echelon of decks. I think it's going to be, obviously it's tier 1 now in my opinion, so it's just going to get a little stronger, but the fact that you can play the same core just 2 different ways is really interesting to me. So it's kind of flexible in that you can still play your control variant, or you can go ahead and play a more aggressive variant if you don't want to turtle out to the later stages. Now, as far as Whis is concerned, as we catch up here, you can kind of see me building my board up and just kind of be able to go toe-to-toe here with Tristan's ability to build his board. The thing with Whis that I have an issue with is Whis is a good leader. I like him. I think the alternative awakening condition of having a 2-drop Unison out, awakening, you know, drawing 1, untapping 1, and then taking life until you're at 6, I think is really good, because you can awaken turn 2 with 8 life and just you have a healthy life total. So I really like that. I really like the fact that obviously it's a attack draw once per turn. I like that. And then I like the ability of being able to combo with your skillless battle cards and then playing them from the drop area. I like all that. What I don't like about the Whis leader and his specific archetype is there's not enough, in my opinion. So I looked at the entire card pool, and aside from the 8 skillless cards that we're getting in set 12, there are no other battle cards that you would benefit from being skillless combo cards. Yes, there are 2-drop yellow 15k battle cards that are skillless, but they're not Goku's or Vegeta's that would, you know, go hand in hand with what the archetype wants to do, especially if you're trying to EX evolve into your bigger guys. It doesn't help you. You can play a pool, you can play Kui, you can play guys like that if you want to, but they don't help the archetype, right? So if you want to just fill the deck up with fluff, be my guest. In the future, I'm sure 100% down the road, they're going to come out with more 2-drop 15k Gokus and Vegetas, because obviously it's Goku and Vegeta. But for right now, I don't think 8 targets is enough, because for some reason you don't see them enough throughout the game. I think Whis' biggest problem for me is the lack of draw power. Now you can see on my board here, I don't have a problem controlling. I don't have a problem playing stuff out onto the board. What I do have a problem with is drawing cards. The 1-drop Whis is a really good facilitator at that, because when you play him, he looks at top 5 for a Goku, Vegeta, or Unison with the cost of 2. And then when you combo with a skillless battle card, you get to draw a card. So it helps you with that 1-for-1 draw power, but sometimes that's not enough. There are no other draw cards in this deck variant that I'm specifically playing, but also in the archetype. Yeah, you can make the argument that you want to play Bulma to get your stuff out of the deck, but that doesn't help you draw. That just helps you thin your deck. Yeah, you can play the Beerus that when you tap, when you combo with it, you could tap a yellow and restand your guys. Yeah, that gives you more swings, but it doesn't give you draw power. So I tried the archetype specific stuff, and I didn't like it as much as the variant that I'm playing now. So basically, it's a combination of your small archetype engine with just good yellow stuff. And as you can see, I mean, Zamasu super combos, that means Arrival Bojacks, that means Prideful Transformations, that means Poutine, just cards that are going to help kind of slow your opponent down until you're ready to go off. Now, I end up losing this game against Syn Shenron. It does come to like the last couple of cards. You know, Tristan, I think, goes down to like 7 cards or 6 cards in deck, and I do get him down to 1 life. But as you can see, it's all a matter. It's a battle of attrition in regards to the board state. Who can build their board faster and who can control the board more efficiently. I feel like against any other deck that's not Syn Shenron, I feel like this variation of Whis does a really good job of being able to go wide and tall at the same time. Now, we did mention in earlier videos that we've posted here on the channel, I think set 12 is kind of transitioning into a go wide strategy, but with the ability to go semi-tall. Like, if you look at decks that go super tall, obviously Dark Broly goes super tall, right? Because he's putting 30Ks out, you know, with real good efficiency. If you look at decks that go wide, obviously Vegex goes wide with all the time agents and all the little guys they could put out, right? But if you're looking at a combination of the two, I think set 12 does a really good job in going wide and going tall. Like, if you're looking at Turles, which we've played here before on the channel, Turles goes really wide. When you play your boss monster, that width gets really tall very quickly. And I think Whis kind of does the same thing, because you can go wide with this variation that I'm playing with all of the free play cards, or all of the, you know, play this card if you tap an energy or your opponent's card or whatnot. You know, that's why Bojack is here. That's why Bergamo is here. You know, that's why we're using the Zamasu super combos. That's why we're using Poutine, just to be able to get out cheap threats that are impactful. But, you know, to second that, you do have your engine, which allows you to play your skillless cards and then get the EX Evolve from the deck. So if you don't have it in hand, you can go ahead and activate your leader skill to be able to pay 1, send your 2-drop skillless to the drop area, and then you play the 1 from the deck with the same name. So Goku will go up into his Goku, Vegeta will go up into his Vegeta, so on and so forth. And the 3-drops are nice. I mean, Vegeta's a 20k double striker that when you activate a counter skill in response to his attack, he restands. So essentially, he has a dual attack double strike if your opponent wants to negate. And then Goku's really nice too, because it's spot removal on a yellow battle card, which is what yellow is kind of lacking right now, is the ability to have spot removal. I mean, when he swings, you can KO one of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, which is really good for yellow because they don't have ways of answering wide boards. Obviously, you have tech options like Secret Identity Mass Saiyan, which I think is going to be very important moving into set 12, but built-in archetype color specific removal you don't really have a lot of. And I'm really focusing heavily on playing a strategy that kind of halters my opponent from continuing to attack, right? Bojack is a 20k blocker that when he comes in, he rests a card and your opponent mills a card. Prideful Transformation is a counterplay that when he responds to a card being played, it's played in rest mode. Poutine, when something's played with an effect, you put it in rest mode. Bergamo, if something is put into rest mode, you can play him for 2, and then you can choose 2 of your opponent's cards, battle cards or energy ignoring barrier, and resting them. So you can kind of see the trend of just good yellow stuff and giving you the ability to slow your opponent down. And then the Goku is just going to continue to benefit off of turning sideways because he'll be able to KO those specific cards that are in rest mode. Now, the thing that I like the most about the Whis archetype is that the Gokus and Vegetas are not unique. Now, granted, unique is a very interesting keyword that we have in the Dragon Ball Super card game because it kind of prevents you from continuing your strategy. But in a deck like this with Whis and the archetype specific stuff, they're not unique. So you can have multiple Gokus triggering every turn if you can set up your board properly, just kind of constantly KOing. And because he's a 20k crit, you're always going to want to swing at lead with that, because unless they combo out, they're taking critical damage. So they're not going to be able to reciprocate that damage and get, you know, more resources from their life. So it's just a really interesting archetype in my opinion. When you're looking at archetype specific stuff in set 12, I feel like it's the weakest because I feel like it's missing something, you know. I feel like it's still missing that little thing to get it over the hump. But obviously, like I said, because you're specifically working with Goku and Vegeta, you're going to get infinite support as the game continues to mature. So we're getting close towards the late game here, right? And if we're just looking at everything in a bubble, Tristan goes and drops his Cell Xeno, which is going to be a huge boon for Shenron because they could get 12 energy of battle cards on the board easy peasy, right? So having the ability to just do that is not a problem, but I withstand it because of what I have as far as resources, what I have as far as blockers and stuff like that. So like I said earlier, this might not be the best matchup for Whis, but I wanted to post this video because you guys can see, you know, the lines of play and how potent the strategy is in getting stuff out on the board. Because if you're looking at my board, the board is nice. 2 Bojacks, a Bergamo, a Goku, another Prideful Transformation. So 3 blockers, but if I choose to use them offensively, I can choose to use them offensively. So like I said, against Syn Shenron, it might not be the best matchup because of the negation, of the control, of the width that Syn Shenron can put out, and the ability to just go ahead and drop big bombs on you like Cell Xeno. But I do not lose here. Like, I do not lose this turn to Cell Xeno. I exhaust all of my blockers, all of my resources, and then I come back on the next turn and I get Tristan down to 1. But the ability of Shenron being able to restand all of his Shadow Dragons and then giving Tristan an infinite amount of blockers is what kind of does me in at the end there, because I run out of steam. So you can see where things are going here. It's not a good matchup, which is something that you definitely have to be careful with. The fact also that Tristan's deck can inherently deal with my Goku, just kind of keeping him locked in rest mode, and me not seeing the cards to be able to play another one, just kind of inherently helps Tristan's strategy. But if you're going toe-to-toe with Syn Shenron here and getting him down to their last couple of resources, I think it's a deck that's interesting. It's a deck worth maybe taking a look at. I'm not saying go ahead and buy all the cards for Whis right out of the gate, because I'm not sure how it's going to hold up, or if it's going to be your best option in set 12. But I definitely wanted to experiment with it to make sure that, you know, there is something there. And I think there's something there. If you're a fan of yellow, as I am, I think it's something to take a look at. I think it's something worth experimenting with, because you might be able to find a combination that I haven't even looked at that will put Whis over the top. So I just want you guys to keep your options open. We've already pretty much, you know, showcased all of the set 12 stuff here on the channel, so I might dabble in another archetype. I'm not really sure, but I'm pretty comfortable with Turles, and then Whis might be my secondary build, you know, going into set 12. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys have been testing in set 12 and what has brought you the most success. I hope you guys are enjoying the untapped version of the Battle Chamber. We really do appreciate the love and support, but we're going to get on out of here, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Be there or be squared.